You're not bad with money. You're being triggered to spend. And most people never figure that out. They just assume they lack discipline, that something is wrong with them. But here's the reality. Your spending habits aren't random, they're engineered. Welcome to The Money Architect. Today we're not talking about budgeting tactics or cutting coupons. We're getting underneath the surface and looking at the mechanics of why money keeps leaving your account. Because before you can build wealth, before you invest, before you scale anything, you have to stop the leaks. And most of those leaks, they're invisible. Now here's where people get it wrong. Impulse buying isn't a discipline problem. It's a neurological event. That matters more than you think. Because if you believe it's just about trying harder, you're going to lose. Every time. You're going up against systems designed by behavioral psychologists, data scientists, and billion-dollar companies that know exactly how your brain works. And they're not guessing. They're testing, optimizing, refining, constantly. So, if your only defense is willpower, you're bringing a knife to a gunfight and willpower runs out. That's the part no one tells you. By the end of the day after work, stress, decisions, your mental energy is depleted. That's when you're most likely to spend. Late at night, sitting on your phone, scrolling. That's not an accident. That's when you're easiest to influence. Let's slow this down for a second. Think about the last time you made an impulse purchase. It probably wasn't about the product. It was about how you felt. Stress, boredom, frustration, even excitement. That emotional state, that's the real trigger. The product just shows up at the right moment. And timing matters more than people realize. Most impulse purchases happen in the evening, not in the middle of a focused workday. But when you're tired, your guard is down, and your brain is looking for relief. Now, layer in digital triggers, countdown timers, only 3 left in stock, flash sales, personalized ads that somehow feel like they're reading your mind. That's not coincidence, that's engineered urgency. And it works because of something called present bias. Here's what that means in plain terms. Your brain heavily favors immediate rewards over future consequences. So, when you see something you want, your brain doesn't care about your long-term financial goals. It cares about right now. And companies remove every bit of friction to make that right now decision as easy as possible. One-click checkout. Saved payment info. Buy now, pay later. You don't feel the money leaving, so your brain doesn't register it as a loss. And that's where it gets dangerous. Because you're consuming without resistance. Let me pause you right there. This is the shift. You're not just buying things. You're responding to a system designed to make you buy. And once you see that, you can start to break it. Now let's talk about dopamine, because this is where it gets interesting. Most people think dopamine is about pleasure. It's not. It's about anticipation. It's the wanting chemical. And here's the part that changes everything. Your dopamine spike happens before you buy, not after. When you're looking at the product, imagining having it, thinking about how it will improve your life, that's when your brain lights up. Once you actually buy it, that feeling drops off. And when the item shows up a few days later, that excitement is gone. Now you're left with the bill and sometimes regret. So you weren't really buying the product. You were buying the feeling of wanting it. That's a completely different game. And if you don't understand that, you'll keep chasing that feeling over and over again. Different product, same pattern. All right? So, what do you do about it? You don't rely on discipline. You change the environment. You add friction. Because right now, everything around you is designed to remove friction. So, you have to put it back. Here's the first move, the 72-hour rule. If it's not essential, it doesn't get bought immediately. You put it on a list and you wait. Not 10 minutes, not an hour, at least 24 hours. Ideally, 72. Because time kills urgency. What feels like a must-have today often feels irrelevant 3 days later. That's not theory. That's how your brain resets. Here's another one. When you feel the urge, physically move, stand up, walk outside, change rooms. It sounds simple, but it works because you're interrupting the emotional state driving the decision. You're giving your rational brain a chance to catch up. Now, let's make it more practical. Remove your saved payment information. Yes, it's inconvenient. That's the point. If you have to get up, grab your wallet, type in your card, you're forcing yourself to slow down. And slowing down breaks impulse. Same with shopping apps. If they're on your phone, you're one tap away from spending. Delete them. You don't need constant access to buy things. You need control. Let me give you a cleaner replacement for the habit. Instead of adding to cart, use a wish list. This is important. You're not trying to eliminate the dopamine loop entirely. That won't work. You're replacing it. Adding something to a wish list still gives you a small hit of anticipation, but without spending money. And most of the time, you'll never go back and buy it. Now, here's a stronger reset. A 30-day cleanse. For 1 month, no non-essential spending. None. You pay for housing, groceries, gas, and that's it. What this does is expose your patterns. You start noticing how often you reach for your phone out of habit, how often you want to spend, not because you need something, but because you feel something. And once you see that clearly, it's hard to ignore. Let's walk through a real scenario. It's 10 p.m. You had a long day. Stress is high. You're mentally drained. You open your phone, scroll for a few minutes, and then you see it. An ad for something you didn't even know you wanted, but suddenly, you want it. That's the dopamine spike. That's the trigger. Normally, you tap, buy, done, but now you interrupt it. You say it out loud, "I'm stressed." That alone breaks the autopilot. Then you add the item to a wish list instead of buying it. You've satisfied the urge without spending, and you apply the 72-hour rule. 3 days later, you don't care about it anymore. That's how you win. Not by fighting harder, but by changing the system. So, let's lock this in. First, identify your triggers, not the products, the emotions, stress, boredom, late nights. Second, understand what your brain actually wants. It's not the item, it's the anticipation. Third, redesign your environment. Remove saved cards, delete apps, add friction everywhere. And fourth, replace the habit. Wish list instead of cart. Delay instead of instant. Do that consistently, and something interesting happens. You stop the bleeding, money stays in your account. At the end of the month, you have cash that used to disappear, and now you've got a new problem. What do you do with it? Because letting it sit there, that's not the move. The most effective thing you can do next is turn that recovered cash into momentum. That's exactly what we're going to do in the next video. A practical step-by-step plan to eliminate debt. I'll see you there.